ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight with another indication that the standoff in the Persian Gulf is pushing the country as a whole closer to recession. Some parts of the country are already there, but overall, here is the latest reason for concern. Last month, wholesale prices were up by 1.6%. The price of gasoline alone was up more than 20%. And that is the largest one-month increase in the price of gas since the government began keeping a record in 1947. Very clear indications that consumers are being obliged to pay more, even though they are actually buying less. Here's ABC's Stephen Ogg.
Retail sales were up 1.1% last month, largely because consumers had to spend so much more money to buy gasoline. But otherwise, retail sales were soft. In fact, some major store chains like JCPenney, Dayton Hudson, and The Limited reported their sales were down from this time a year ago. That shows a continuing loss of consumer confidence in the economy, the lowest in 8 years, according to the University of Michigan, where they've surveyed consumer attitudes since 1946.
Since the events in the Middle East, what we've seen is a much sharper reduction in consumer confidence, much more widespread concern that the economy may indeed slip into recession during this year ahead.
Consumers fear that in a recession, they may lose their jobs and may not be able to find another. So many consumers are buying only what they need.
We find simply that there is less discretionary funds. We're really struggling to get by, and we live very, very modestly.
Oh, there's no such thing as savings anymore.
A little shorter vacation, maybe not as much buying this holiday season.
Simply not going out to eat as much. Haven't bought a new car, and I was thinking about doing it.
It turns out that one little-known economic barometer is men's clothing.
Usually, before a recession, men will stop shopping before women or kids will. And we've seen that over the last year.
Consumer spending accounts for 2/3 of the nation's economic activity. With spending already sluggish and expected to slow down even more, the economy could be in for something more than just a mild recession. Stephen Ogg, ABC News, Washington.
More than just a mild recession. And a big factor, of course, will be the price of oil. It was down a bit today, under $40 a barrel, but that's still nearly double what it was before the Iraqi invasion. There is a report that Saudi Arabia, which has already increased its oil production, plans to increase production by another 10% by next year. That would make up for more than half of the loss from Iraq and Kuwait, and, of course, make the Saudis even richer. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials gained nearly 33 points, and they closed at 2398. The trading was heavy. The week was still a loss overall, down more than 112 points. In Washington, 1 week to go before yet another budget deadline, and everywhere you look on Capitol Hill, someone else has a plan for what to cut and what to tax. Here's ABC's Jim Wooten.
Up front, it was business as usual. But backstage, there was a furious, single-minded focus on the budget. Caucuses and conferences all over Capitol Hill. House Republicans, for example, talked about nothing else in their morning meeting, to no effect.
The dynamics are all over the place, and almost anything can happen and will.
Apparently, her 175 fellow Republicans offered each other about 175 different budget plans. Meanwhile, at the White House, their leader had no new position today. Instead, to the visiting Prime Minister of Estonia, he offered merely a conversational truce.
But I won't tell you our budget problems if you promise not to tell me yours.
In contrast, House Democrats, with Ways and Means Chairman Rostenkowski out front, have offered a fairly solid front for a plan that would raise the top income tax rate to 33%, which the president says is unacceptable, and impose a 10% surtax on incomes above $1 million. Only fair, said the Democrats, to enlist the wealthy in the fight against the deficit. They were also quite proud that, for a change, they weren't fighting among themselves.
Now we're going to challenge them once and for all. What do you believe in? What do you support? Where's your package?
It was slightly more civilized in the Senate. Democrat Finance Chairman Benson and Republican administration representatives spent most of the day behind the scenes trying to hammer out some agreement without a public bloodletting, most likely a package that would not include the controversial swap between an income tax increase and a capital gains decrease. Despite all this busyness, there are several very serious senators who are very much concerned that party politics have now overwhelmed the budget process. that the pieces can't be put back together in time for the deadline. Jim Wooten, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
Overseas today, the Speaker of the Egyptian Parliament has been assassinated. We'll have that report in a moment. And also on the broadcast tonight, the definition of sportsmanship in college football. It has changed a lot in 50 years. And this is Friday, our Person of the Week. How do you say excellence in Japanese?